currently happening in Ultra, and she might even share with us what's going to be happening in Ultra soon enough. So sit back, make sure to post any comments that you have or questions you have in the chat. We will be watching the chat, and we'll make sure that Misty sees those questions if you have them. And at this time, Misty, I'm going to turn this over to you and let you get us started.
Thanks. So I'm just going to turn on my camera only briefly, as I don't want to distract with you watching me, but I wanted to say hello. Since we're not able to be together face to face, I'm quite thankful regardless that we have technology that allows us to still feel like we are present with one another. And I want to thank you, Leah, and everyone for allowing us to spend this time with you today. So I'm going to turn off my camera now. And let me switch over to my slides, and then I'll do just a brief introduction so that you guys can know a little bit more about me. And I think that will also give some context as to the perspective that I may offer as we go through this time together. I do want to invite you to place any questions that you have inside of the chat. My colleague Tom is here to also assist with those questions, and then I will strive very hard to make sure we have 5 minutes or so at the end for you all to come on the mic and pose any questions or comments at that time. Before we dive in, again, my name is Dr. Misty Cobb. I am a boomerang at Blackboard. So what that means is I spent previously about 9 years at Blackboard in roles that range from solutions engineering in both the K-12 and North American higher education markets, and then moved into some program management. You may have perhaps heard me speak before about Ultra over the years as I managed and developed curriculum for a lot of our programs and partnered in a variety of programs, including exemplary course program and things such as that. I briefly moved away and did some work with another technology company around accessibility and artificial intelligence, but my love for Blackboard and now Anthology is quite big, and so I had a desire to return, and they were happy to receive me. Before my time at Blackboard, I spent several years at a university near my home here in Alabama, and I was the director of online learning there. Had some time where I was an instructional designer and partnered with faculty in the establishment of new courses and new programs, both fully online and on ground, using Blackboard Learn as a supplement to that instruction. And before that, I did some K-12 teaching and technology administration on the campus. I taught primarily grades 9 through 12 business and computer science courses. So again, it's my pleasure to be with you all today. And without further ado, we'll begin to dive in. So I'm going to present to you today a mixture of things that are in product today that you could begin enjoying, and also things that are to come. And so as we walk through this together, what I hope will become apparent to you is that we're striving to build a personalized learning experience that's built on 5 key pillars. And the center one that you see here on the screen is pedagogy. So we want to encourage teaching and learning practices that adhere to established best practice within KCTCS, but also generally accepted best practice in the area of teaching and learning. And around that, we'll have areas where we're demonstrating progress. We want to make sure that instructors and learners know where they are in the course of instruction and learning. We want there to be efficient workflows, things that are just kind of common sense, frankly, workflows that are logical and that save you time. We also want you to have a collective and shared teaching and learning experience where in this day and age, we're having to build relationships and give and receive feedback in this kind of disconnected environment. So we're trying to overcome that when we're not able to be physically together, or even when we are together and we need to extend that beyond the bounds of the physical walls and the time limits that we may have. And then we also want to make an environment where we're able to support your efforts to pull in other best-in-class solutions. So you may have third-party tools and resources that you want to include, and we want to provide you with seamless integration options that allow you to achieve those very things. So I have for you here just a sample. We're going to have a formal roadmap session, and we'll make sure that Leah and other leaders have that information to share with you should you be interested to join. But this is an example of some work in progress that we will be releasing in our April release, and I have only included here just a sampling of things that relate directly to assessment and grading. So you can see here some continuing to build on displaying one question at a time. Something that you may use and value today. In the original course experience, we are bringing that in, not just with an equivalency in terms of your experience and your students' experience, but hopefully an improvement on a tool and a feature that you may enjoy today. I myself have been leading efforts around bringing an option in to calculate a running total or not a running total. Again, a similar feature original possesses today, bringing that into the Ultra experience within the gradebook and allowing you to choose between those, and then making sure that choice is presented to students in a logical way so that they too can understand the choice that you've made in terms of how you're going to calculate a student's grade in a course. We're also adding in some things around preventing students from accessing submissions. This helps you to make sure that you're providing a secure testing environment where you can hold students to the standard that is appropriate for your institution and your own classroom around academic honesty and integrity. Again, hiding final grade sort of goes along those lines, making sure that you're presenting and revealing information about students' performance at a time that makes sense and is best for you. Building on work around submission receipts and enabling instructors to have some reporting capabilities using the functionality of those receipts, bringing in multiple attempts to group assignments. This is, again, another project that I have helped to spearhead. Adding additional question types, one of those being the numeric question type, allowing you to download test results, and then providing some improved access around course activity and grades reporting. So again, high-level overview, we're going to begin diving more deeply into that. And so I want to provide to you a framework so that you can understand some labeling that you'll see on the remaining slides that we'll cover together in the next couple of moments. So when we're talking about roadmap, which will be kind of woven into these sections, you may see some labels that say coming up next. These are things that we have planned for the next 1 to 3 months. Our level of confidence of delivering these things, as I will describe to you today, is quite high at 95%. So these things are in development, they're being tested, and we have a relative certainty that these things will come forward and you'll be able to enjoy them. The work in progress component is more around the 3 to 6 months time frame. The level of confidence drops here, not that we are going to change our minds completely, but these are kind of in the candidate stage. We're doing research, we're gathering feedback from students and instructors, from administrators. The scope is defined, but we're looking to you all to help shape and to confirm or validate the ideas that we have in place. So the level of confidence dips for that reason. And then we have a longer term vision, of course, where the level of confidence is slightly lower because we're being visionaries in this space and we are taking on the freedom that's needed to not only bring to you features and functions that are core and essential, kind of table stakes things, but also looking at innovation. So we don't have confirmed timelines here. We are very much still uncertain, and our vision could change and be shaped, of course, by your feedback and the other types of research that we do. So we're going to look firmly in the beginning at some assessment and grading types of concepts. Pardon me, I'm having to clear my throat, so I appreciate your patience with me as I may pause here and there to take a sip of water. But we'll dive right into this particular section, and we're going to begin with features related directly in the key area of assessment and grading. So hopefully you will see as we go through this that we've really been focused here, and there are very significant efforts to accelerate developments in this area. So April is asking in chat, how did the upcoming changes affect courses already built out? April, we're very mindful that, we may release something where the timing, it could be difficult. We do have a very aggressive plan to deliver a lot of features and functionality to you the remainder of this year and even beyond. And so when we're designing these things, and when we're developing requirements for it, we're very much thinking about these changes affecting courses that are already not only built out, but in flight. And so the changes, hopefully with a monthly release cadence, are subtle and not disruptive. Where we predict that there could be a disruptive nature, we may decide to hide features behind a feature flag that would then empower your system administrator and other leadership to determine at what point might that feature flag be lowered so that the feature is then presented in your course. But we may not do that with everything. So we're still kind of fleshing out when it makes sense to do that, and when a feature, though may disruptive, where it may cascade, and we just need to go ahead and put it out there. But do know and trust that there are people who are like you, who understand the ins and outs of teaching and learning and conducting a course while it's in flight, and we're keeping that in mind as we make those decisions. I will be very careful to make sure that you are informed and kept abreast of what we're doing. All right, let's take a look at the first one. I was admiring the excellent video that had been produced and was playing before the session began, and I saw that this one was in there. So in the event that you missed it, I'll touch on this one. This one is already available. We pushed this in our February release, and the essence of this feature is that we are providing an option to give you greater flexibility to align with the standards that you have and the practices that you employ in your course. So by default, Learn has accepted late submissions, but there are some scenarios where this is not what you want. So there could be a high stakes digital assessment and students are submitting late, and you just don't want that. So to support these scenarios and to give greater flexibility, this particular feature allows you to enforce a hard deadline. So if the due date has been stated, the date and the time is there, and you will not allow a late submission. If a submission is in flight at the time that that date comes due, the student will receive an on-screen warning and the submission will be saved and submitted. So they will not be able to present after the fact. Furthermore, you'll see another option just beneath the one that's highlighted there in green, which is prohibit new attempts after the due date. So a student would not be able to come in after the date has passed and start a submission. So if I come in 5 minutes before the due date is going to expire, then I'll be given those 5 minutes, depending on what selections you have made here. And we've been careful to make sure that we respect any accommodation that you have applied to any individual student. Then we have test question display options. This one is very exciting to me. This one will be coming in a variety of phases. So in the March release, which is available today, it's coming very soon to your production environment. It is on your test environment today. There is a new test header. And so the test header is there for the benefit of the student. There's nothing that you as the instructor have to do. The premise of this particular feature is to assist students in understanding where they are in the course of completing a particular assessment. So the timer has been added in. It's been repositioned. There is a visual indicator also in the bar that you see on the screen to help students have a visual representation of their progress. And there is an indicator for the number of questions that are on the assessment and how many the student has answered. We will be adding in additional functionality to allow students to then toggle. We have some plans around paging so that you could present pages of questions at a time, preventing backtracking and things such as that. We're also looking at collapsing or hiding the timer for students where that might induce anxiety. We don't want that, so we're looking at options to be able to just hide that component. Also making sure that if a student submits their test, they receive a warning that there are questions that have not been answered, giving them a chance to go back and make sure that they are putting in those options as well. I do see your questions. I'm not ignoring them. I'm looking to Tom to answer those, and where Tom is not able, then I'll come back and address those questions. So please know that I'm not ignoring you. We'll revisit them if Tom is not able to answer them in chat. And then some advanced display options. I may have stolen some of my own thunder but on the previous slide, but I love what I'm seeing in terms of our work around manual page breaking, allowing greater flexibility so that if there was some reading that needed to be done with a block of questions that needed to reference the text on page, you would have an option to do that. You would have an option to cluster those questions and add some randomization for questions within those manually broken pages. So we're really looking to not only bring some former functionality from the original course experience, but to add to what you can do today. So looking to innovate in this particular area. Again, this will continue to come in phased releases rather than holding the functionality. We're going to present perfect slices is what we're striving for, so that you can begin to take advantage of these things as we have them developed for you. Calculated numeric type, I mentioned that one to you during my opening comments. So we're looking to expand question types and bring some additional ones into the testing interface. So we're finalizing development right now on the calculated numeric question type. So as with Learn Original, the workflow here provides the ability for you as the instructor to set a question that requires that a numeric answer is given by the student. So it has a feel of the fill in the blank question type, but the mathematical notation can be used and supported. Wasn't necessarily required for a fill in the blank. We're targeting April with this one, and we've already started to scope out the next question type, which will be Hotspot, and we'll talk more about that shortly. We are also then moving ahead in the area of building on existing functionality with submission receipts. So we're in active development right now on what we call Milestone 2, which will bring the capability for you, the instructor, to find and retrieve a student submission based on an associated confirmation number that is in the student submission receipt. We're including the option to display the size of a file that may have been attached and submitted by a student, so that you can gain additional insight into what the student has done, and if indeed they attached a submission for marking. So we're looking again to improve academic integrity and surface for you information that will help you to ascertain the quality and the accuracy of a particular submission that a student might have made. Feedback display controls are also important. So we're looking to provide you with greater control when it comes to releasing test feedback to your students. So in addition to the existing display options that you have today, you will, in April, soon be able to prohibit students from seeing their test after the submission has been made, and you'll be able to prevent students from seeing any results or seeing the test mark until some date that you specify. These are highly requested developments, and our hope is that we will introduce some improvements that you will be glad to have, again, focusing on that academic integrity perspective. Download test results, we know, is also important. For a variety of reasons, you may choose to download those results. Today, when you select to download, you're presenting with a couple of options, such as the delimiter type. Do you want this to be an Excel file or a comma delimited file? And depending on the type of format that you may choose, the format result varied and followed existing workflows that we have that you may already be familiar with today in the original experience. Downloading by student includes all questions for that student in one row. And then download by question and student includes each question for an individual student in separate rows. So you'll be able to choose to download valid attempts, which will include only the attempt that has been submitted for that you've chosen. So for example, if you have a multiple attempt and you're choosing to grade only the highest attempt scored, then when you download, it will only include that attempt. If you want to see all attempts, then you would choose all attempts rather than the indication of the one valid, which is then matching your selection for how you would choose to grade that multiple attempt scenario. Again, targeting April is the multiple attempts for group assignments. So this one is important because we know that you already have multiple attempts for single student assessments, and it is logical that when you're doing group work and you're assigning that to your students, that you may want to provide the same option for them to be able to do a second, third, or whatever number is appropriate for you. An additional attempt. So this one is somewhat straightforward. It's in active development. Again, we're targeting that you'll have this at your fingertips in the April timeframe. If we look a little bit further ahead, this one is in development with no exact or hopeful target, but nonetheless, we know that supporting question banks is really important for critical assessment and grading needs. We have a team who is defining the series of milestones on this important work. The first milestone has been defined, and in that one, we're looking to provide the ability for an instructor to create, edit, and delete question banks from within the core user interface inside of Ultra, but also the ability for you to search and copy existing questions from other banks. Alongside this, the core feature enhancements here, there is another team who is working on improving some of the course copy issues, including the ability to copy an individual question bank. Staying in the vein of question banks, we're looking for a series of enhancements to question banks, such as the ability for you to create, edit, and delete questions from within the core UI inside of Ultra. Also the ability, again, for you to search and copy from other banks and just continue to enhance. This is an important area, and we want this to be something that is easy. We want for it to be inline. You're not having to click out and go to other screens or go through difficult or cumbersome procedures to be able to copy and bring and reuse those questions from other banks. So it's an exciting area, more to come, greater detail in future sessions that I hope I'll have the opportunity to share with you all or with your leadership. We also have some assessment exemptions coming. We already have some exemptions today, so we're looking to add an additional one that is based on due date. So this would allow you to present an assessment and to show it or hide it on or after a certain date. This would also allow you to control some additional attempts. You can see here on the in the mock-up here that I have for you, the dates being applied to show this one on a certain date, to hide it after a certain date, to specify how many attempts you want to allow on an exemption. This would be something that you could do for an individual student. Very exciting here, and something that we hear for an added benefit and bonus to instructors. Again, this one is in development, and there'll be more to come on the specifics of this as we move ahead with it. A couple of moments ago, I did mention to you and promise that we would return to the hotspot question type. This will be a new question within Ultra, but not new to the Learn environment. You do have this one available to you today. We're looking to improve the experience. You can see here just a mock-up of our plans. Accessibility is crucial with this one. So a lot of our work and our changes on the functionality of this question will be to improve the overall accessibility with this particular question. We know that this is important in a variety of courses, but I hear about this one a lot from nursing faculty who are interested in this type of question to build on the types of questions presented in the NCLEX assessment. So nonetheless, this one is in progress right now, coming to you soon. We also have a series of gradebook improvements. One that I'm working on, and we've even made changes this week that are not reflected in this particular screenshot, but is the ability for you to have an additional points-based option. So today you are familiar that your gradebook is percentage-based, so we're looking to bring a points-based display. We're looking at options around providing you to toggle on and off a running total option. So what you have today is running total. You may appreciate and love that, but we do hear from some faculty that they would prefer an option to not use a running total. Again, we want to surface in the student experience more information about how their grade is calculated and revealing to them some of the selections that you have made so that they have a better understanding of you know, how they're performing and why their grade is what it is. We're also looking to improve some of the weighting, allowing you not just to do categorical weighting or item weighting, but perhaps a combination of the both. And for those who do not want to do weighting at all, we're looking to provide to you just what I would call, and what I would have worked with faculty on, is just the concept of a straight total without weights. You might choose to apply weights in essence by the number of points that you assign to an individual item, rather than assigning a percentage of weight to it or to the category to which it belongs. This is a very exciting area with lots of rich features coming, some innovation again, and improvements on what you even have available to you today in the original experience. Next up is flexible grading. This is a very complex area, an area that we're looking to improve, not only in just providing greater flexibility for you and clearer understanding to your students, but to support real-world grading practices. So we're combining attempt and question-based grading approaches, making sure that the rubric and the feedback area is present and visible and usable as you're grading questions that may include that feature and functionality. Again, it's a complex area. We're doing a lot of user research on this and collecting feedback from instructors as to what would be best for them as they're going through grading. And we're thinking about that traditional real world pen and paper type of grading that you might do and bringing that in to this online grading experience. Continuing in flexible grading, we're looking to bring about what we're calling an immersive view for multiple screens. So maximizing what you're able to do on your screen real estate, whether you have one screen to work from or more. We want to make sure that you're able to detach a rubric, pop it out into a side area so that you can maximize and have greater ease when you're grading a variety of types of assessments and depending on the type of feedback that you want to provide for your student. Is it a file that you're attaching? Do you want to provide an audio or a video feedback file? And you want to make sure that you have plenty of space to see perhaps the rubric that you've already scored, the paper that you may have chosen to mark up. And all of that needs to be visible if you're then going to give an overall summary of feedback to the student, whether it's through audio or video. So we want to make sure that you can detach screens, open them up fully so that you can see all the things that you need to see to provide that flexible grading interface to you and then to give excellent feedback to your students. All right, I want to pause. We're still staying in the vein of grading and assessment, but shifting towards usability and efficiency. So I've included a sampling of items in this particular area. But before we do that, Tom, would you assist me by helping me to know if there's anything in the chat that we need to allow people to come on the mic, to have a brief discussion, a time of Q&A, before we proceed into this next section?
Misty, thank you very much. There does seem to be one question by Betsy. It was regarding a fill in the blank answers that have been submitted on an assessment. If a student is submitting, for example, 3/3/22 as the date for their answer, and it does not fall in line with an acceptable answer, can that answer be updated and then the test regraded?
So is the question, can the student have an option to update it? Or Betsy, is the question, can you go in and manually give credit for that question? Can you offer some clarification? Feel free to come on the mic if you're comfortable doing so.
We'll need to promote her to speaker, so give me just a second.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, Betsy, now you have access to your microphone. You can talk.
Thank you. It's really for me to add that as one of the possible answers to the question. And would Blackboard automatically regrade it, or do I manually need to add those points in?
So I would need to go in and review what the current functionality is today and then compare that with the developments that we have. I would say I'll give you an ideal end state option, and I can speak to a project that I'm working on right now. The ideal end state would be that you would be able to add a pattern. I see that Tom, I believe, had included the option for you to be able to do an exact match or a pattern match that you would specify as you're constructing the question. So you would do that on the front end of your designing of that particular assessment item. And then if you needed to make a change after the fact, then you would be able to do that and invoke a regrading routine. And then a brand new piece of functionality that I haven't really covered in this particular topic today is the ability for you to come in after an assessment has been graded, for you to go to an individual item in an assessment and give additional points. So you would, in essence, if it was a 10-point question, the student earned 5, but based on your review, you really think the student should earn 8 points, then you would be able to literally click the 5, change it to an 8, update it, and then the students' change of those points would then cascade to the total points earned on the assessment, would show in your view of the gradebook as well as in the students. Is that helpful?
Yes. Thank you.
Perfect. My pleasure. All right. Anything else, Tom?
It looks like Joe J might have a couple of questions. We've been chatting a little bit over here on the side, and he was looking for some additional information on formula precision scoring.
Okay.
And I told him we could set up a time for us to get together to discuss further, and we can set up a meeting if that would work.
I think that's perfect. Joe, if you don't mind doing that. Tom, if you want to just guide Joe in a way to contact you to then have that Tom to then understand his need and then the solutions that we may have to meet it. Perfect. All right, let's then move ahead. All right. So this next section again is focusing on usability and efficiency. If we look specifically here, what we're calling a usability audit. So the idea here is that there would be a whole bunch of improvements. This whole project falls under my purview. It is literally, I don't know, hundreds perhaps of very small projects to improve the overall usability and to improve workflows. To reduce the use of slide out panels, to just overall improve the experience for both instructors and students. There is quite a bit here. I'll dive into a couple of specific examples, but we have partnered with an external firm to assist us in identifying areas for improvement. Frankly, they've come back with a list of things that we really already knew, but they've helped us to group them logically, and we have several development teams who are partnering with me to accelerate in this particular area. So they'll be small, but the smallness doesn't mean that they aren't mighty. So I think as we go through and I give you some specific examples, I hope that you'll appreciate what we're trying to accomplish here. We're not being complacent about workflows that may feel disjointed or confusing to you today. So let's look at the first example. Some learning modules improvements. We're targeting April with this one. And you might know today, if you're someone who uses learning modules, that when you create a learning module, if you want to change the name of the module, if you then want to control the visibility, if you want to then apply conditional release, that requires multiple clicks, if you will, multiple selection points. And it also requires you to go into multiple screens, some of which may not even be surfaced for you in a logical way, and things that you frankly could just miss because they're buried under menus. So what we've done is we have brought all of those options up into a side panel, and you can then set all of those things in one single place. We're also supporting larger numbers of descriptions of characters for that particular module. And we are improving when you apply for sequence. You can do that when you design the learning module or after the fact. And we're allowing you to add content. I mean, the real life is I may design a learning module and think that I have everything in it, and I have decided the sequence in which I want students to progress through the module. But inevitably, I may find another piece of content that I want to include. And if I insert it, I have to take the sequence off, or I may just have to put it in external to the module. But we're now going to allow you to insert it. And if students are tracking their progress, they'll be able to see there's something that they've missed. And there's a nice on-screen piece of information for you as the instructor to let you know you can insert this content, but students have already progressed, and so they may have to backtrack in order to go and consume that piece of content or interact with a discussion or whatever it may be, and then they can continue to go through the module. So it's complex, but at the same time, it's going to make your use of designing these modules better and your students' experience progressing through them more smooth and logical. All right, drag and drop. I know this is an area of pain. We have identified some things that we know are causing this to be problematic. We're making active improvements to that right now. And so overall on the outline, it's going to be more clear where you click to pick something up and begin to drag it and drop it. We're improving the interaction for when you do drag and drop into a folder or into a learning module, so that is more evident. This whole thing is being overhauled so that this will work in a way that is in line with what your expectations would be for dragging and dropping content on that course outline page and when you need to insert it into a folder or other container. So again, simple, but this can be wildly frustrating. Ed, thank you for the smiley face. I appreciate your knowledge of how to apply that, and thank you for that encouragement. Because again, this is small, but it's mighty, and I know will make a difference for you all. All right, I then have another small section here for you around course and content design. Again, this is still in alignment with that grading and assessing, knowing the importance of the content that you are adding in and the way that you might choose to add it into your course. And so I'll open up here again with a small improvement. This one is available to you today. I want to make sure that you know it's there because you might have missed it. Historically, you were able to do a granular content copy of only other Ultra courses, but most of your courses may be original courses, and you want to be able to navigate deeply into a course and grab a single document, a single discussion post, a folder and all of its contents, or a single piece of content from within a folder. So now today, you'll be able to do that, not only for your Ultra courses, but for your original courses too. So you would just simply come onto this copy content area, open up a course of your choosing, and then navigate to that piece of content and then bring it forward into the course that you're in. So again, this one is just huge on efficiency and making it easy for you to reuse the excellent content that you've already designed that resides in other courses that you have access to. We're also expanding this area, targeting May, with hopes to give you the ability to grab and copy duplicate content within the course you're already in. So the other day I was in a course and I thought, I want to copy the assessment that I already have, maybe a formative assessment, but I want to pull in some of those assessment items into my summative assessment, and I'll just start with that one as the basis, delete any questions that I don't need. And I'll be honest with you, because I've only been back to Blackboard since November, and I was shocked that I couldn't do it. And I thought, I must be doing something wrong, because surely I can do this. But I wasn't wrong. I couldn't. There were other ways that I could go about doing it, but they were cumbersome and they didn't make me happy. So I was delighted to see that we are targeting this for May so that you can do that exact thing. I can copy a discussion that I already have. I can copy a test that I already have. I can copy a learning module that I already have and use that again as a foundation for new content. So Kim, thank you for that affirmation that we're headed in the right direction with these kinds of things that will just make using Ultra more delightful for you as you're designing your courses. There's a lot of work in the rich text editor. This one is a series of projects that fall under my purview. And one that we're targeting for April is the ability to add code snippets. This is not something that you can do today, but it's very important for certain types of classes where students need to be able, or you need to be able, to include code as an example. You know, my undergraduate degree is in computer science, and so I very much can see the value of an instructor needing to show a block of code to their students as part of content for the purpose of instruction. And then for the student to be able to turn back around and submit those code snippets as answers to assessment questions, or as part of an assignment, or even part of a discussion. So we're targeting that for April. And then there are a series of improvements planned for table editing. There's quite a bit there, probably too much to go into today, but things that you would just expect to have. So navigation, from control of table headers, moving through the table with my arrow keys or using tab keys, merging, separating cells. So all the things that you would expect to do in a table, and making that a more pleasurable and logical experience for you as you may need to design those in your course. The table part is more in the future, let me just be clear with that, but the code snippets is coming to you very soon. This is also very exciting and in development now, and it's the ability for you to inline file render. What does that mean? That means that PDFs and Office files would present themselves directly in the browser, and you would have the ability to control and define the behavior of those files. Do you want them to be inline view with an option to download? Would you prefer that students only inline view them, or do you want them to be download only? So today, the PDF behavior is download only. It can be confusing, jarring in its expectation, even from a student's perspective. So I'm happy, very happy that we're doing this inline file rendering and providing you with more control over how to define what you want your student experience to be. We're also adding, this is a popular one, again, another example of a small but mighty improvement, and that's internal course links. You oftentimes want to reference other items that you already have from a course, perhaps in an Ultra document. You want to create a shortcut to something on the outline. So the goal of this work is to support links from within learning modules, folders, documents, test assignments, discussions, and journals, and just allowing you to create those quick hops, if you will, without having to provide a lot of text on page to give guidance to your students for them to move from one area to another. This one is in development now, and I hope you'll be excited when this one makes its way to you. I'm going to go back a slide. I had a memory, an idea that popped into my head that okay, here it is. Not in the slide, but something that's fun that we're going to continue to iterate on, and it's coming in the March release, is the ability for you as an instructor to include a OneDrive file that will render on the screen. The first iteration of this is a read-only view for students, but in future iterations, we're looking to be able to work with that OneDrive file and provide for you and your students a collaborative experience where you could curate and build content inside of that OneDrive file. So I didn't include it in the slides here, but again, that first step forward is coming in the March release, and then you'll continue to see us iterate on that as we move ahead. I know we're quickly approaching time, and I have come right here to my very last slide, which is simply an invitation for you all to share your feedback and ideas with us. You can sign up to participate in an Ultra Insiders program by navigating to the URL that you see there on the screen. This is a way for you to just participate in a group of like-minded individuals. Our community is filled with other faculty from institutions across the globe, and this provides you with additional access to user group meetings, an Ultra advisory program, and other types of office hours that you may have interest in. In the community, you'll also find ways to join and participate in programs like the Exemplary Course Program. So a quick little plug. I know we only have 2 minutes, but I do want to invite you again to place questions inside of the chat. I hope that this has been a useful 50 or so minutes for you, and I am deeply grateful that you've chosen to spend this time with us today. I will pause now to give Tom or any of the others from KCTCS an opportunity to weigh in or again to ask questions.
I would just like to add thank you, and I included my contact information in the chat, so feel free to reach out with any questions. I'm happy to help. So thank you for your time today.
So Sarah, Leah, I certainly assume that you all will be distributing these recordings and you will notify Sarah and all the participants how they may access those.
Yes, all sessions are being recorded and transcribed, and they will be on the KCTCS Online Info Center. We'll also share that with our peer team members who can share that locally at their colleges.
Thank you. April, Valerie gave you a tip, but as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, we are working right now to create a points-based gradebook. So stay tuned for that. There's a lot coming in terms of improvements in the gradebook. All right, well, we're nearing the end. Again, thank you all so much. I'm going to paste my email address into the chat, and you're invited to contact me directly, but also then I do have regular meetings with Leah and team, so feel free to funnel your questions that direction as well. Thank you, and I hope you all have a fantastic day.